A deal on Dickens, who could resist? A stack of Austen, warmly kissed. Golden Age crime tales twist and turn, every page a treasure to learn. Books keep coming home with me, piles so tall they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea, reading always feels so free.
Hi, my name is Talia. Welcome to Talia Nerds Out. Let me move that out of the way. There we go. Just want to go through a quick book haul of some of the religious books I picked over the past month and a half. A couple of these I picked up with the idea that I can use them to read over in subsequent Lents, because I kind of like having religious books with a bit of like religious history books for the Lenten period, particularly if they can focus somehow on the events that are the focus of Lent. Like this past time, I read, and I'm actually in the process of still reading, I'll probably finish it next year, or whenever I happen to feel like it, The Crucifixion of Jesus, a Forensic Inquiry. I was reading this for this Lent. It's been put on pause simply because I didn't want to be reading that during the Easter season, as it is a joyous time. But I have a couple of these that I picked up, like I said, with Lent in mind. One of these is The Stations of the Cross, an account of their history and devotional purpose. And this is by Herbert Thurston, put out by Forgotten Books. I was surprised how hard I had to search for something that went through just the history of the Stations of the Cross. I had always heard that it had something of a, that St. Francis of Assisi had something to do with the process, but I'm not sure if he had something to do with the development of the devotion to the Stations of the Cross, or if it was some other aspect that he had something to do with. Judging on the fact that it is more than just pamphlet size, there would appear to be more than just St. Francis of Assisi developed this history. So I'm interested in seeing what this history would be. By the same author of Herbert Thurston, and he wrote quite a bit. By S.J., I believe that means that he was a Jesuit, if I remember correctly. And he wrote several books on different topics within Catholicism. And this is about Lent and Holy Week. And this one's quite a bit thicker. And once again, I believe this has to do with the historical, like how Lent was practiced historically, which is something, again, I was really looking for. I didn't want something that told me about current Lenten practices. I wanted to see how it was celebrated eons ago, and then how those practices look different than our current day ones. But it was really hard to find something. And this was another one that I believe is a reprint, but of an older classic. Like they had to print it specifically even. But look at all the margin room, which is what's kind of nice for some of these ones that you have to get printed because they had to like scan it or whatever. A lot of times there seems to be a nice bit of margin room when that happens. So yeah, I'm interested in learning about what Lent looked like back, I'm not sure how far back this goes. Well, it talks about antiquity. So all the way back, which is awesome. I'm really kind of excited to eventually sink my teeth into this. And this might be a more than one Lent book, depending on what else I'm reading for devotional material at that time. Speaking of devotional material, I picked up several of Sister Wendy's art and meditation books. Now I wonder if some of these are in her main one. Okay, I don't think it is. Okay. So I have her The Art of Lent, which I like the way it's set up because it has the little blurb and then the painting. And then it goes throughout. Oh, and it also tells you what the name of the painting. It tells you the painter and the year it was painted. Like this one let me find one that's... Okay, let's actually go back to the one I showed you. This is St. Catherine of Alexandria, a cropped version of this, and it's 1507 by Raphael. Now, some of the choices she has in here, I'm not quite sure why she has them. Like, I don't know why she has... Oh, where is it? There was one that's like, why is that even there? This one here, this Amédée David Marquis de Pastoret by Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres. I don't know why this 1826 painting is in here. It doesn't seem to really have anything to do with the Art of Lent, but maybe I'll find out when I'm going through, because it kind of seems like an odd choice. Okay, it looks like she's using it somehow as part of the meditation. Okay, so yes, this book is good if I just want like little quick Lenten meditations. And then this one's for Holy Week and Easter, Meditations on the Passion and Resurrection of Christ. Now I expect this one to be a lot more focused. Ooh, I like this Van Honnerst painting, Christ Before the High Priest, circa 1617. That's rather nice. And then once again, just like the other book, it has a short little meditation and then more information. Now, some of it, like this one from 1987, is creepy and weird. It's by Albert Herbert. Not terribly fond of that style choice. I much more prefer the more classic style. Oh, and here's Christ driving the traders out of the temple. Circa 1645 to 50. Bernardo Cavallino. So, very much the same setup as the other one. Then there's this one here, which is the bigger book, Sister Wendy's Book of Meditations. Looks like this also has the same setup. A little bit of meditation on this side, then the painting. This is a Dutch master over here, a Vermeer. And from what I understand, Vermeer's paintings, a lot of them did have little hidden meanings that have religious purposes. Okay, so, she does repeat some of these in this book. So that's interesting. I wonder that if I was to look, I would see that these two books are included in this. They just don't mention it specifically for Holy Week and Lent. Oh, I like this one. The Magdalene Reading, circa 1445. Roger van der Weyden. That's rather nice. Then I have over here a biography of Bernadette of Lourdes. And this apparently is based off of documentation that was taken at the time. Let's see. It's told by René Laurentin, who is both a journalist and university professor, basing his book on the original sources. He has followed Bernadette's advice. The simpler one writes, the better it'll be. In trying to dress things up, one only distorts them. The result is a compulsive and authoritative biography, which has now become a classic. I believe this was originally in French and has been translated. But I just like the idea of using the original sources. That's always my preference. And I don't think I've read one about Bernadette that's used the original sources as a reference point. This is an Evelyn Waugh book. Evelyn Waugh? I'm never quite sure how to pronounce that name. Anyway, his biography of St. Edmund Campion. This came up a lot when I was searching for his biography on Father Ronald Knox, who was a friend of his and a detection club member. But St. Edmund Campion and Father Knox's biographies were occasionally lumped together. At the time, I wasn't sure I wanted the Edmund Campion biography, so I didn't get them together. I finally did. I think I want to say I used a free book credit to get this, but I can't be 100% sure. But yeah, I'm interested. I actually haven't read any of Waugh's stuff yet, even though I have several of his books. But I look forward to reading his writing, both his fiction and his nonfiction. This looks interesting to me. This was hard to get a hold of at any sort of good price. I'm not sure. I think it might not be in print anymore. This is St. Maximilian Kolbe, Apostle of Our Difficult Age. I've been interested in him ever since I was a kid, just because because of the way he went into the Auschwitz and the fact that he chose the end that he chose instead of, he could have potentially lived, but he chose to give himself for someone else. I first really remember his story from, there used to be, I don't know if they still make them, like kids' comic books of the saints, and the imagery was it was a very good way of bringing across particularly his story, which is a very dramatic one. But I don't think I've read about him since as an adult. And I look forward to really reading more of his story. He is just a very, very courageous man, definitely. And I think that courage is something that carried him through his life. He was a Polish saint who, I believe he was canonized the same time St. Faustina was. And I believe that he was also canonized by Pope John Paul II. And the connection in my brain is that all three of them are in Polish. That, in case you're wondering why I bothered to mention who canonized them. Oh, I had mentioned René Laurentin's book earlier. This is another one by him where he uses the original, bulletin. Let's see, he uses the original sources, like reports and stuff written about the apparitions at Medjugorje. Sort of how they talked about each one of the apparitions and their way of kind of just telling their local bishop about it. This is something I've still been trying to form my own opinion about, because it's not one of the definitively approved apparitions by the church. You know, they tend to take their time on these things, particularly when the apparitions are still occurring. So I don't know a whole lot about it. I learned about it more recently from the author who wrote this book, actually, Christine Watkins, but I don't know a whole lot outside of those books. And I figured, well, you know, I should probably learn a bit more. And when I was looking for this book is when I found the one on Bernadette, who, her apparition of Lourdes has long been an approved apparition, but it too had to go through the vetting process that these apparitions are currently going through. I'm not sure when the apparitions, I don't know if they're still going on or not. This book is an older book. And this one follows along the same line, full of grace, miraculous stories of healing and conversion through Mary's intercession. Mom and I will be reading this together after we finish 33 days of morning glory for the consecration to the Blessed Virgin. Oh, that reminds me. Do I have it up here? I'm afraid if I pull it down, I'll knock things over. I actually have the one that Louis de Montfort wrote. Let's see. Actually, I might be able to get it. Aha. Okay. Not all of these are new. True Devotion to Mary, St. Louis Marie de Montfort. I also read his one about... I haven't read this one yet. This is where it goes into the consecration to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And he emphasized both in this book and in that one, that when they say it's consecration to Mary, they mean that consecration to Jesus through Mary. It's just a lot quicker to say consecration to Mary. Ooh, beautiful. This one has pretty pictures that the other one doesn't have. But he explains the whole process about why you would want to do the consecration, why she is an important figure, and how just because we say she's important doesn't mean we're claiming her to be God, because that's not what we're doing at all. But he goes into what she actually means, why she's important, all that. And this is a book that I had not realized that I hadn't read. Similarly, I don't know if Mom and I will read this one together, but she also has this book, Dark Night of the Soul by St. John of the Cross. This is another one of those classics that's been around forever. And I tried to read this, actually I tried to listen to it by audiobook it was before 2020. It was either 2019 or 2020. It was when my health was really going downhill. And for one thing, listening to it wasn't probably the best idea. I should have read it instead. And then I really got hung up when it started reading his poetry, which means I didn't get very far along, because I think his poetry is right at the beginning. So it wasn't the best choice of a way to begin with this book. And I definitely wasn't expecting poetry with it. These other books are older books. Okay. Yeah, these are older books. So let me put these back up here. I don't know if I had them in any specific order. There we go. Other than that, let's see. Then I got this one, Story of a Soul, the autobiography of St. Therese of Lisieux. Therese is near and dear to my heart. Not only is she my patron saint, but she also is one that I turn to her as someone to kind of be a spiritual friend during the period of time where I was really struggling with my health going downhill and just trying to manage being sick and working and all that. And it was just... Sorry about that alarm. It was just the fact that the feeling of hope that she gave, and just the way she always tried to, it was what's called her little way, where you just try to be the best person you can within your state of life. You don't necessarily need to do huge, great things, but you can be great in small ways. You know, the you'll hear things like, okay, well, I might be someone who, cleans floors, but I will be the best person who cleans floors ever. And that it has its value. It's that kind of thing where you try to make every small thing an act of love for God. And it's just that kind of mindset as being ways that you can show God over and over again that you love him. Just, by living out that love in your life. This is a different translation than the one I've always read. Apparently it's better set up. And I'm looking forward to seeing that reading that, because I don't necessarily like the way my translation that I've read previously has been set up, and this is supposed to be a very good one. Finally, this was a gift. This was a gift from my sister. She got it for me for Easter. And this is another Peter Brown book. It's Religion and Society in the Age of Augustine. Actually, I probably could have put this in the history section instead, but I'm going to put it here because I've already started talking about it. I don't know too much about it outside of the title. I just know that Peter Brown has a good reputation for his histories of religion and antiquity. There seems to be particularly focus on Augustine. I know I have a biography he wrote on Augustine. I also have a book that he wrote on the cult of the saints. I want to say that's behind the camera. But looks like mentioning things like Christianization of the Roman aristocracy, the church in captivity, dealing with issues of sorcery, Manichaeism, later Roman Empire. Oh, I know. I have another book of his called Through the Eye of the Needle, which I think it's Through the Eye of the Needle that I have. I have several of his books. Haven't read them yet, but I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, this one was a gift. And yeah, I don't really have a whole lot more to say about this simply because I don't know a whole lot more about this. But that's everything. I am starting to get tired because this, that was a 5 o'clock alarm. And usually it's the middle of the night that I feel at my best. I don't know why I decided to record, like the 3 to 5 a.m. slot when I start getting tired. But there you go. That's it for this book haul. I hope that you saw something you might enjoy here. This very much was a religious book haul, so if you don't tend to enjoy this kind of content, I'll try to make sure I make a point of at the beginning of the video making in the title of the video making it clear that it is a religious book haul, and there is going to be something more of a Catholic focus because, well, I'm Catholic. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again for the next one. God bless. Bye.
Books keep coming home with me, piles so tall they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea. Reading always feels so free.